what clients are looking for people coming out of academia is someone who has sort of an entrepreneurial mindset, who will be able to join teams, because obviously sometimes in academia you can be quite solitary. So having someone who wants to work in teams and is passionate to move into industry is sort of what they're looking for. And I think quite often when I speak to people in academia, that's sort of the main reasons why they're looking to leave. They want to work in a team, they want to be able to see the effect that they're having with the drugs coming to the market and really helping the patients. And I think those are the key things clients are looking for.
So typically the candidates that I speak to come from big pharma and biotech. They have both big pharma and biotech experience. Usually people gain experience from big pharma and then they will move to biotech. And it is really a different animal. Biotechs have very few resources, tight budgets. You're trying to get as much out of very little money, right? Versus, of course, in big pharma, you can be working on 20 different projects at the same time.
I think it genuinely depends on the state of the company. If they are a new company that's still working in an academic lab or out of an academic lab, transitioning from academia to industry like that is very, very easy. But if they are an established company who are in the middle of a fundraising round, it would be much more difficult to transition in if you're looking at a more senior position or a managerial position, because then there'll be question marks of, okay, what are your skills in business development? Do you have experience with external collaborators or KOLs, etc.? So that's when potential difficulties will arise, because then when you apply for that job, you will have competition from people who are or have been in industry for 5 years, 10 years, etc. And then it makes it more difficult for when a hiring manager or recruiter like myself is looking at, let's say, 2 CVs, both have technical expertise, very relevant, but then the hiring manager will be more interested in that person who has industry experience over that person who's only purely been in academia.
If they're a smaller startup, typically they need people with industry experience, because you're going to be wearing a lot of hats, you're going to have a lot more or broader responsibilities than if you were in a larger company, say. If you're working for a company like AstraZeneca, GSK, sometimes they'll be more open to it because you'll be managing your section of immunology and your team. So it won't necessarily mean that you have to understand how the industry works, because there'll be someone next to you that knows how to do that. So that mostly depends on kind of the company and obviously their focus for that specific position as well. In AI and biotech and bioinformatics, the whole industry, when you look at the big scheme of things, is still so incredibly new that it could be the case that people have worked on such innovative projects and things from their PhD, from their academic research, that is so applicable to the industry role that companies need them. So it's such a unique and niche field that if you have the knowledge, it's usually quite transferable into an industry role. There are obviously some cases, typically with kind of management, you need to have managed in an industry position before moving into another kind of senior management role. But yeah, we definitely kind of place a lot of people straight out of PhDs and with postdoc experience into kind of a bioinformatics or immunology position as well.
If you're very specialised in what you do in your postdoctoral research, often companies really need that technical expertise. So I'd say it's those sorts of positions which maybe people in industry won't have because it's a niche market and there aren't that many people out there. That is then where maybe you could sort of overcome candidates who potentially have industry experience.